Hey everyone, Tammy Davis, thank you so much for joining me. I'm really excited to be sharing this information with you. If you're new to my channel, I am an internationally certified master clinical phytotherapist with a background in pharmacology, aromatherapy, and the chemistry of food. Sometimes people want to call that nutrition, and it is kind of nutrition, but it's more about the chemistry of food because my primary area of focus these days is on plant constituents and their mechanism of action as on the human genome as it relates to drug development. And that's really very, very important because every function in the body is a chemical process and requires nutrients, specific nutrients from our foods to produce either chemicals that help us to thrive or chemicals that actually help us to survive. You see, my mindset is not that disease and degenerative illnesses are a sign of dysfunction or defectiveness. It's actually a sign that the body has been working really, really hard in our favor, and we've been in chronic survival mode. And when we are in chronic survival mode, we are producing oxidative stress, which you're probably familiar with, but oxidative stress has a purpose. It creates inflammation for the purpose of disinfecting us, or disinfecting our bodies rather, of any sort of microbes such as bacteria. This is the reason why we actually produce hydrogen peroxide. It also produces other forms of oxidative stress, again, for inflammation as a means of protection. But when this is ongoing, we're very, very familiar with the fact that this leads to health problems. And yet our mindset currently is to see that as a big problem that needs to be controlled and fixed. And I'm here as a messenger to kind of share a different perspective, the information that I've learned or uncovered and really have taken to heart in my practice. The bottom line is there's a synergistic relationship throughout nature. This is the reason why my business name is Synergescence. And what that means is when we're talking about synergy, we're talking about alignment. When we're talking about alignment, we're talking about a cooperative effect. The way our culture approaches health at this point, like I just said a few minutes ago, it's about controlling and it's about fixing. And while there's nothing wrong with that, it does provide value. It's not enough. And what I'm proposing in all of my videos, including this one, is how to bring stability to the system. And that's really me in a nutshell. And whenever we get to interact, however we interact, whether it's on my closed group on Facebook called Synergescence or on my website, which is synergescence.com, or even over on my podcast, or even here, I'm happy to share everything that I have come to discover because I think it's very, very important for us to understand that our nature is responding to the external world, the nature around us. And even though we again believe that our body is defective, this is the reason why we call them genetic defects, not genetic adaptations. I like to use the word adaptation because basically the body's just going through adjustments. It's adjusting to the information coming in, whether that's the information that we breathe in, we apply on our skin, we drink, we eat, however we consume the information, it has to be processed. And again, like I said, if it is indicative of danger, then the body remains in the chronic stress response. I can call it that. I prefer to say it's either the body's on consistent high alert or in chronic survival mode. And my mission is for everyone to feel as well as possible by breaking free from that survival mode and really entering into a state of thriving to the best of their ability, to their best of the best way we can work with our system. Again, our nature is directly connected to the external world, regardless of how much you don't believe it, because we look like we're separate. Every chemical has the ability to signal change. It's a signaling molecule. Lipophilic chemicals are signaling molecules. Hydrophilic chemicals have the ability to, well, they're also very important because they have other functions within the processes within our system. So hydrophilic means it's more prone to go, it's prone to go with water. It requires water to carry it. Lipophilic means it requires fat or oil to carry it. This is the reason why our hormones are considered lipophilic, essential oils are considered lipophilic, and even the environmental chemicals, a lot of them are considered to be lipophilic. So there's a lot of impact occurring. And again, my job mission is to highlight this in order to create a different sort of change that allows for alignment and stability, therefore thriving. So that was a lot to say when all I want to do is talk about chocolate. Well, this kind of chocolate. This is a cacao. This is raw cacao. This is raw chocolate. Yeah, I know I got you with the idea of chocolate being a superfood, but and chocolate is a really good food. But for the sake of health and wellness, we have to watch what we're doing when it comes to processed chocolate. Um, the reason I say that is if you've not taken, you more than likely have taken a chemistry class. If you haven't, you know, when we're mixing chemicals, there's changes that are occur. You know, if you mix certain chemicals over here, you're going to get you're expecting to get the a particular result. If you change out your chemicals, you're going to get a different result. Same thing can be said for cooking and or baking. If you know we're changing something. So a good example is if you're making pasta, if you're cooking pasta, when you put it in the water, it's hard, but you add water to it, it becomes softer. The water, the heat and the water combined softens it. It releases various nutrients to make it softer. You know, whatever is keeping it bound up and hard, when it's dry like that, when it's not just adding and soaking water in, it's actually releasing. That's the reason why the water gets kind of filmy, because there is the starch is being released into the water. So that is a process that occurs when we heat water with pasta. The same thing can be said for anything. Everything is a chemical reaction. This is what happens in us. This is what makes the difference between producing oxidative stress versus chemicals that actually allow us to thrive. If you want to watch, I mean, I do have other videos on oxidative stress that I invite you to take a look at, because I do have my thoughts on the benefits of oxidative stress and how how important it is to, yes, we want to relieve the oxidative stress, but we're not actually addressing the oxidative stress if we're only taking in foods and products that relieve inflammation. We're not actually getting to the root of the oxidative stress. And the root of the oxidative stress is chronic survival mode. We have to be able to break that cycle. And that comes in the place of essential oils primarily. There's a lot to be said for exercise and breath work and so forth, where we actually can begin to send signals to the autonomic nervous system to relax. But a lot of those changes that have occurred at the cellular level require a little bit more than just the deep, tranquil breathing. And this is, and I mean, I wish I could say that was the case. And it does change for everybody. Not everybody requires the same thing. And so I'm very much about bioindividuality, but that is another topic altogether. But like I said, in this case, this chocolate that I just showed you is one that I use a lot. I really, really like it because, number one, I'm a big chocolate fan. I've been a big chocolate fan my entire life. I grew up in Pennsylvania up until the age of 15, and so I was near Hershey. So chocolate was, and my dad's company had summer picnics every year at Hershey Park. So I was around chocolate a lot. And Hershey did sponsor a lot of their Christmas events because he worked for a steel company. So there was a lot of chocolate in my life. But over the years, I've come to appreciate, again, like I said, the chemistry of food and actually what it provides for us when we're using it mindfully. That's not to say that I don't enjoy a good chocolate bar. But the reason why I'm concerned about processed chocolate, especially for our children, is because the chemistry changes. When you're getting it raw like this, you're getting a really good source of calcium and magnesium, um, other vitamins. You get precursors for our neurotransmitters, including anandamide, which happens to be the neurotransmitter for bliss. This is the endocannabinoid chemical that is produced that kind of gives us that sense of that awe feeling. And it's called anandamide. And this is one of the reasons why they're really promoting medical marijuana, CBD oil, specifically because CBD oil is one of the claims is that it actually stimulates the release of anandamide. Well, this actually has anandamide in it, according to some of the research that I've found. It also has a phytonutrient meaning plant nutrient, that's naturally occurring, that prevents the reuptake of anandamide, which is exceptionally important because what that means is that the anandamide remains available longer. This is the reason why when we eat chocolate, you feel there's a sense of peace. Maybe it's just because we feel like we got treated and we actually released anandamide on its own, but the actual chocolate itself, as a raw chocolate, this raw cacao powder has that capability because of the phytonutrient makeup. Again, so I'm a big advocate for whole foods. And what I mean, and what I mean by that, or why I am so much an advocate for whole food sources of nutrition, is because there is, like I said, there's a synergy throughout nature, and when we have these chemicals that are combined in a certain way to produce such a food as this, they work together in a certain way. This is the reason why I like whole essential oils, as opposed to specific constituents. Because remember, I said I studied plant constituents because this is a focus for drug development. But the fact is that a lot of essential oils can share constituents. It's the combination, because some of them, and they all have their own specific chemicals that make them their own unique brand, their own unique plant. But it's that combination that creates a more holistic effect. And so when we eat foods like this, there's a more holistic effect. Because yes, of course, let me look at the back of the package. It's got vitamin. It actually it has calcium and iron, potassium, magnesium. There also has your vitamin. There's other vitamins that are in it as well. And we recognize the fact that we can look at any food and it has those in it. It's the specific combination. It's the ratio of nutrients or vitamins and minerals with relation to the phytonutrients. And like I said, in this case, this actually has phytonutrients in it that act like anandamide. And it also has the ability to prevent the reuptake, which means it's available to our system at a longer rate until the body clears the food, until it's metabolized everything, and then of course, okay. So it also has phytonutrients in it that prevent the reuptake of serotonin and dopamine, which is extraordinary because that means it also makes serotonin and dopamine available to us a lot longer for helping to regulate mood and emotions and kind of keeping us more pleased with the situation. So, I mean, it's a really good food. Not to mention the fact, again, the combination of phytonutrients is exceptional for cardiovascular health. Oh, pardon me. Insomnia. I particularly like it because it's very calming. I mean, you've heard me talk about magnesium as a supplement. If you haven't, I did a video on that. But this has a very calming and soothing. And the interesting thing to me about this particular food is it also contains purine and caffeine. And so some people will say, well, because it's caffeine, it'll keep me cranked. And the answer is no, it won't. I have found that naturally occurring caffeine, I get it that some people have challenges with it, but that is going to be more with the liver enzymes and the way it's metabolized as opposed to the caffeine itself. And so I'm going to go off on a tangent here for a little bit about caffeine. because I find it to be an exceptional food or nutrient. Um, First and foremost, I will address what the elephant in the room at this point, which is we recognize the fact that caffeine has been considered and is actually what it is. It's listed in the DSM-5 as an addictive substance. Pardon me, my nose is itchy. So it's considered an addictive substance, and so I mean, like I said, it's in the DSM-5. There's no mistaking why that is. A lot of research has demonstrated that caffeine has the ability to alter the dopaminergic mesolimbic pathway, as does refined sugar, as does nicotine, alcohol, and cocaine, and we can go on down the list. There's a lot of addictive substances, and the definition of addiction is the change in this particular brain structure. Now, the other thing that we also know that is not widely spoken about is that cortisol also has the ability to change that same brain structure. And so my hypothesis is we're actually, given the level of stress, environmental factors that are setting the body in survival mode, are triggering the release of cortisol. And therefore, the brain is being altered long before the introduction of any particular substance. That said, I know as a mother, I drank coffee when I was pregnant, even though it wasn't recommended. I liked my 1 cup of coffee a day. I still like my 1 cup of coffee a day. That was it. But if that did it, who's to say what did it? But I suspect that this is happening on a larger scale, and this is the reason why we're seeing such high levels of mental and emotional upset, diagnoses along the lines of addiction and autism and schizophrenia, because the brain structure is being changed, and depending on the individual genome or genetic code, how it unravels in the individual depends on, again, their genome. But that is a long thing to say about caffeine. But caffeine can do that, but I wouldn't worry about it at this point because yours has already been more than likely altered as a result of the world that we live in. And your stress levels. So caffeine is not. It's really, if you can't take caffeine and caffeine is troublesome for you, it's more than likely your liver enzymes. And there is a way to nourish the liver, and I'll include that document in the description box below. There's a way to nourish the liver to actually help reset those liver enzymes, and it's very important. I just did a video on a lymphatic system, and I've done pieces on, I've talked about the CYP 450 liver enzymes before, because there's a number of chemicals that do either inhibit their function or accelerate their function, or there's somewhere in between, and medications are some of those. Oils can do the same thing, and that's what I did in the lymphatic video, was address some of the oils that are known for the lymph system and how they do actually affect the 2C9 liver enzyme. So if you are not able to, and you have to forgive me at this moment, I'm not remembering which liver enzyme actually, I think it's the 3A4, that is responsible for metabolizing caffeine. But the exciting thing about caffeine is, so yeah, there's a 3A4. So I think it's 3A4. I'll double check it, and I'll make a note here on the video. But that said, caffeine, when it is metabolized properly, is converted into a number of chemicals. Theobromine is one. Theobromine is actually found in this. This actually has theobromine in it. And theobromine is actually good for inactivating the bacteria in the mouth and helping to prevent cavities and periodontal disease. And it's if you use it, especially in combination with xylitol, a sweetener, you have a really good defense for optimal oral health. So this is a really good drink for children for a number of reasons. And the caffeine, again, won't keep them up because of the way the combination is. I have used this with myself, and a number of people recommended it, and they have taken this in a glass of chocolate milk at night, which means this is unsweetened. So they've sweetened it with xylitol and put it in milk and they slept like babies. They just slept really, really well. Anyway, it also is broken down into xanthine and theophylline. And those two chemicals are now being produced as respiratory medications, primarily for asthma. But you can actually get those, again, like I said, they're medications, because caffeine, when it's broken down, actually helps to open up the respiratory system. So there is a benefit to it. But what's even more interesting to me is that the purine that's in this, and so many people, many nutritionists would say, if they put people on low purine diets, again, because of the uric acid, and again, there might be good reason for it. So this isn't to say this is 100% for everyone. This does have to, you have to know where your body is. You have to know what you can and cannot do. This isn't about saying my way is the right way. What I'm saying is there's a great amount of possibility when we can actually help relieve the stress response, and we can actually help the body eliminate the uric acid, so that we don't have the inflammation. There's a lot of ways to do this, but let's just say if you're working on your digestive system and you're including essential oils in your diet, and you don't have a uric acid problem, and you don't even have to be using essential oils, but you know what I'm saying, uric acid is not a problem for you, then this would be an exceptional food. Now, if this is something that you're interested in, because what I'm about to say, then let me know. Because when we, again, and this is digested differently than a cooked food, because it does have enzymes in it as well. But the fact is that purine and xanthine, when xanthine continues to be metabolized by the body, is paired. And it's paired because purine is actually a protein. It's paired and it's used in the repair of DNA. So this makes this a really exceptional food. And again, depending on your age and what's going on with you health-wise, it may not be the recommended food for you right now, but it's something to work towards, because it is exceptional when it comes to overall health. Like I said, it's really great for the cardiovascular system. It's extraordinary for the neurological system. It is an anti-inflammatory food. It is also alkaline forming. So there's a lot of benefit to including this kind of food into your diet. But again, it really depends on what's going on with you. And if you have any questions about your particular health situation and whether or not this would be recommended, you're welcome, again, to hit me up in the Facebook group, Synergescence, where we kind of go into deeper details of the personalized use of essential oils. And then on the blog, on my website, which is password protected, but it's that way because I want to remain private. But I'm happy to answer your more specific questions about what's going on with you. But like I said, this is an exceptional food in its by all rights, and we want to use caution with it. Because there's not everybody. I had to pause for a moment because I had to stop and think about combining that with SSRIs. Because of, I don't know, it potentially could. It's a possibility that it could have an additive effect, which may not be the best thing to do. So, because keep in mind, this acts like a reuptake inhibitor, and that's what an SSRI is. So, if you are taking an antidepressant that is like an SSRI, or even don't think you have to worry about norepinephrine, because there are norepinephrine reuptake inhibitors. But I would at least very, mindfully check into it with regards if you're taking an SSRI. Again, I realize it's a food, but at the same time, just because it's natural doesn't mean it's safe. Especially when combined with medications, we really have to be mindful about the way we are integrating things. So I do that with both oils and with foods. And so, like I said, if I know somebody is taking a large amount of, or even taking one type of medication, I do want to cross-reference it with regards to the food, because I just don't want any complications. We already see this when it comes to grapefruit, and St. John's wort. There's a number of things that we're currently being cautioned against, and there's a good reason for it. And that is because natural isn't always safe. There's times when it's not even always natural that things are being added to it. And I actually just did a podcast on that. But just because something's natural doesn't make it safe. And so, again, if there's nothing else that you're taking and all you're doing is you're doing natural remedies, this won't be a problem because it is a food. When it gets more involved, when you know what? Actually, I take that back. What popped into my head was St. John's wort. So there's herbs that are used for depression you would want to be careful with. So again, just because it's natural, just because it comes from Mother Nature, I keep in mind there's a cooperative effect, there's a synergistic effect, and it's also a chemical reaction. And so we can't control the chemical reactions. For as much as we like to think we cannot control these chemical reactions. So being mindful of what you're including and not doing too much. Okay, if you're already doing things for, let's say you're dealing with depression right now, and it's not to the degree where you actually need a medication. Do what you're doing. If you feel like making a change, if you want to see if something else is more beneficial or helpful for you, quit doing the other stuff and then make a change. But don't just pile it all in together, because my biggest thing is stability and not duplicating the mechanism of action. And that's our biggest challenge, I think, as a culture, is that when we take a medication, these are really good examples. We take a medication and then all of a sudden we want to do oils and we want to do herbs and we want to do something that's going to basically tag team the medication. So that means everybody's doing the same thing. They're all working on this particular symptom or this issue over here. And we're missing the fact that stability is necessary. I'm not going to say balance because balance is relative, because theoretically the body is always in balance. It's always seeking balance. And it's balanced in the sense in regards to what's happening from the outside. It's in balance in regards to what the body actually needs in that moment. So if we don't duplicate the mechanism of action, and that's the most important part. And so you might be thinking, well, what does that mean? Your best bet is truthfully to stabilize the digestive system. That would be the best bet. There's so many health conditions out there. I can't be specific at this very moment, but I can tell you that to begin to restore stability to the body is to really focus on the digestive system, from the mouth to, everybody want to say hi to Theo back there? That's my partner in crime. We go as T squared. Theo and Tammy, T squared. Anyway, so stability of and that, like I said, it comes from the mouth to the cellular level. That is digestion, because it starts to break down in the mouth, but we have to get it down into the ability to be assimilated. And again, this is where oils come in. And there are very good oils that you could be incorporating that would be beneficial to the digestive system. And the more I work with the oils, I've been doing this for 30 years. I've been working with oils and medications for 30 years. And the more I work with oils and the further our research gets, the more we're actually seeing how you've got to be careful when you start combining these things. Again, like I said, I shared a bunch of a list of oils on my video on the lymph system with regards to the ones that just affected T2C9, and then there was also the 2B6, that's lemongrass. And so you have to know how your medications are affecting your liver enzymes, because you don't want to create conflict. But again, you can potentially use oils that will help to relieve the cellular stress and improve the uptake of nutrition, so that we can begin to shift the body into thriving. And if you have any other questions about that, please feel free to email me, Tammy@synergessence.com. On that note, I will leave you with a link on this, because I particularly actually really do it. And this is a really tasty, again, it's not sweetened, but it just really, it smells chocolatey. Wish you could smell what I smell. And what was really cool, I have to share this with you, is in my last shipment, they actually sent me this. So it's a protein powder made with this very same cacao. It actually has probiotics in it as well. So I'm really anxious to try that as well. Anyway, I'll make sure to include a link to that. You're getting there's a link in the description box for, it's a document that I put together on this raw chocolate. I did it years ago, and I'm going to share that with you now, as well as a document on how to nourish the liver to help improve the way your body's beginning to break, really metabolizing these things effectively for you. Okay, let me know if you have any questions. Tell me at centeredessence.com. I'll make sure that's in the description box. And please feel free to join me on Facebook in this Centered Essence group. Request to join. I will add you. And let's see, the podcast, that's on Libsyn, but I will put that, you have that link below, and also on my website at centeredessence.com. And I would love for you to follow me on Instagram and Twitter. If you follow me, I follow you back at Tammy Davis State on both. All right, thanks for watching. You guys take care. Blessings to you, and I will talk with you soon. Bye.